Hey, yeah, before the video starts, I'd just like to quickly say that this was meant to come out a lot sooner, except my bathroom ceiling kind of broke and kind of maybe flooded the house a teeny weeny bit, so yeah. Post-editing Nalo here, and along with the bathroom having to be like redone and stuff, my mom got COVID for a week, and then right as that weekend, and my dad got COVID, so yeah, L for us. Anyway, like and stuff if you enjoyed, and thanks for watching. Gaming nowadays is so incredibly accessible that you can play basically any modern AAA title in your bed, be that on a crispy OLED screen on your Switch or a modern gaming laptop. But I've always had a fascination with some older gaming consoles. Being born in 2003, the first console I got was the Wii, so anything before that time I never really had my hands on, besides my dad's old GBA, which isn't in the best shape. Don't get me wrong, I love modern consoles. The Wii U is probably my favorite console ever, and that's not even a decade, oh Jesus Christ. But there's something really charming about some of these older consoles, and after recently making eBay my life for 2 weeks straight, I was able to pick up these: a PlayStation 1, a Nintendo 64, and a Nintendo GameCube. And today I want to talk about some of the cool quirks in these systems. Growing up, I was never a Sony kid. The only PlayStation I had was a PS4 when I was like 14 or 15, which kind of just collects dust now because my PC does basically everything I want the PS4 to do, and more. That being said, the PlayStation 1 is such a charming little machine. Being one of the pioneers of disk-based systems, it has some really unique quirks. Despite PS1 discs holding up to 12 times more than the biggest N64 cartridge at the time, a lot, and I mean a lot, of PlayStation 1 games came on multiple discs. The coolest feature of the PS1 though is that you can open the disc tray in many of the games and the game will continue playing, at least for a bit, due to the data being stored in PS1's memory. This can result in some really weird things happening, such as your party in Final Fantasy VII never turning up to battle, leaving this poor Shinra robot to have an existential crisis. Final Fantasy VII in particular has all of its game data, models, coding, music, etc. on every single game disc out of all three. The only difference between the discs is the FMV cutscenes, due to these being massive for the time. So you can actually swap discs when you've loaded into the game, and everything will continue on as normal. Until you get to an FMV cutscene, in which case a hilariously wrong one will play, such as Cloud watching a Shinra TV and seeing Aerith die, while he is currently there to rescue Aerith. If you open the disc tray while selecting a materia spell, we can see Cloud just kind of squatting here. My best guess is that because there's so many different materia animations, they don't load them all onto memory at the same time. Moving on from Final Fantasy VII now, we can see that some games actually make intentional use of the disc swapping feature, such as here in Wipeout, where you can actually pause the game and just open the CD tray and put in any CD you want and have its music play while you race. No, this is not edited game footage, this is my PlayStation 1 playing my official Twilight Princess soundtrack CD while I play Wipeout. It even adds a reverb-like echo when you enter tunnels, which is really cool, so you can have a really sad futuristic race. Earn Mary-Kate and Ashley Mystery Shopping Mall. No, I did not buy this game. My friend bought it for me, she thought it was funny. You could make dance moves to any CD you put in, meaning we can have this. There's no fucking modern game that would let you do this. You think anyone on the PS5 would let you pull this shit? Oh my god, it's perfect sync! Okay. Moving on to what has to be my favorite unique use of the PS1 hardware in Metal Gear Solid. But before I show you that, I need to rant for a moment. So we have the secondhand game store in the UK and Ireland called Sex, yes that's how it's pronounced, don't ask me why, and I was looking for a copy of Metal Gear, but it was out of stock, so I clicked this button here to give me a push notification when it was in stock, which it was a few days later in a store very close to me. Finally, a win for me. I couldn't make my way to that store for a few days, so I checked the stock twice a day. It's still in there, it's still stock. I checked the stock the night before, still there, except a day, an hour before I leave to go to this store. I checked the stock and some dipshit asshole bought this copy of Metal Gear Solid that I wanted. Fuck you, I hope you're happy. Anyway, I have a copy now, so let's talk about it. So roughly halfway through the game, Snake here has to fight this cool psychic guy called Psycho Mantis, and to demonstrate his psychic powers, he does some really wacky things to mess with the player, such as faking turning your TV off or moving your controller with his psychic abilities. The absolute standouts here though are that he will read your memory by checking your PlayStation memory card, commenting on how often you've saved and any other Konami games you've played if you have them. Sadly, I do not. That's not the best part though. The absolute best part is that Psycho Mantis will read your attacks and nearly always dodge them. To get around this, you have to physically unplug the controller from port 1 and plug it into port 2 where he won't be able to read your mind anymore. How cool is that? Okay, I think that's enough PlayStation stuff. Let's move on to the Nintendo 64 now, which admittedly has a lot less to talk about. However, it has one really cool feature I want to show you. So the N64 uses cartridges, which have less capacity than a PS1 disc, but the pro to cartridges is that games can be saved directly onto the cartridge itself, meaning there's no need for an actual memory card. Some games did use this N64 controller pack accessory to save data, but the vast majority save directly onto the cartridges. Let's jump into some Mario 64 then, and if we tilt the cartridge ever so slightly while playing, we can have whatever the hell this is. So for some reason, tilting specifically the left side of the cartridge up while playing a game causes it to absolutely freak out, corrupting the audio, which I've lowered to save your ears, breaking Mario's spine, and sometimes freezing or crashing the game, which is pretty fun. If we make our way to Bowser and pull this stunt, we can give him PTSD for the rest of his life. But even better, we can see Bowser continue to play around and breathe fire on Mario's dead corpse. That's pretty much the only thing I wanted to mention about the N64, but it's really cool in my opinion. Alright, moving on to the GameCube. The Nintendo GameCube. Launched at the turn of the new century, this is a generation I consider to sort of be the gap between the old and new. You could probably pass off a GameCube game as a modern title if you squinted really hard and probably administered anesthetic to someone. This was one of the first consoles to really popularize the idea of wireless controllers with its official Wavebird controller from Nintendo. And for some reason, I'm assuming like anti-piracy, the discs are absolutely tiny. There's not a whole lot to talk about with the GameCube, but being Nintendo's first disc-based system, you actually need memory cards for it, so there's something kind of charming about knowing Olimar will never see his wife because I don't have a GameCube memory card. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this video. I know that it was much more heavily focused on the PS1 rather than the N64 and GameCube, but that's just because it had more kind of cool quirks and stuff I wanted to look at. So that's all from me for today. Like, comment, and all that if you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.